Julian, what do you know about Frederick Douglass?
He was the Underground Railroad.
He was part of the Underground Railroad. He was one of the last conductors that was part of the Underground Railroad that helped free slaves escape to Canada. So this is our book that we're going to read, and this is a wonderful portrait that the illustrator did of Frederick Douglass. You have seen how man was made a slave. You shall see how a slave was made a man. That quote is about Frederick Douglass. Frederick's journey, and this is another portrait of
Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass. Say Frederick
Frederick
Douglass.
Douglass.
Very good. Wonderful illustrations. Frederick was taken from his mother when he was a baby and sent to live with his grandparents. His mother slaved 6 days a week from sunrise to sunset on another farm 12 miles away. She longed to see Frederick, but walking the 24 miles round trip and getting back by dawn was almost impossible. Only 5 times did he feel her loving arms around him. Here is another quote. I do not recollect ever seeing my mother by light of day. She would lie down with me and get me to sleep, but long before I waked, she was gone. He heard whispers that a man named Old Master was his father, but he was never sure. So that's Frederick Douglass's mom. And who would that be?
The dad.
Pointing to the man in the white suit.
Oh, I'm pointing to the baby. Who is that?
Frederick Douglass.
Very good, and quite possibly that might be the dad. You was right. I'm sorry. Very good. Grandfather Isaac was free. Grandmother Betsy was a slave. She cared for all her grandchildren, knowing how painful it would be when she had to give them up. Her loving hands bathed Frederick, fed him, nursed him, and hugged him. Moving on. He ran freely among the corn stalks, which tickled his face and legs. He watched squirrels scamper up trees and bury their nuts in the earth. Grandmama taught him to fish. He dipped his thread line and pinhook into the water, but got only nibbles. The fish were nibbling at the fish line, but they weren't biting.
Mom, stop.
While she scooped up scores of shad with her handmade nets. The grandmother's catching a lot of fish. Living with my grandmother, whose kindness and love stood in place of my mother's, it was some time before I knew myself to be a slave. So Frederick Douglass is a little boy, and at this time he didn't realize he was a slave. And these are the slave children in the field. The summer he was 6, his owner ordered his grandmother to bring Frederick to him. Her loving hand trembled as they walked 12 miles to a place with grand houses and hundreds of black men, women, and children. They are kin to you, Grandmama said, pointing to 3 children. Go and play with them. Another quote. I really did not understand what they were to me, or I to them. Brothers and sisters, we were by blood, but slavery had made us strangers. Frederick feared that if he played with them, his grandmother would leave without him. She did, and he wept. Grandmama was all the world to me. He loved his grandmother a lot. She meant a lot to him. Do I mean a lot to you? Here, you